Okay, good morning everybody. Now let us begin with our metta practice. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision. Removing desires for sensual pleasures, one comes never again to birth in the womb. With this metta thought, let us continue our practice. I notice the best way to proceed with our practice and do it regularly without failure is repetition. We have to repeat words, we have to repeat the practice, we have to repeat the experience. So let us begin our verbal repetition. Meaning, every day I say, first we did the metta verbally, we repeated it every day. Now I repeat the instructions every day. Let us focus our mind on our breath, noticing inhaling as inhaling, exhaling as exhaling. Then notice the breath touching our nostrils, breath going into our lungs and expanding our lung area, and then going and expanding our lower abdominal area. As we breathe out, lower abdomen contracts, lung area contracts, the breath leaves our nostrils. These functions take place every time we breathe in and out. It does not change its own rhythm. This is what we may call default function. Standby order, so to say. Standing order. So, we see rising and falling of our breath, rising and falling feelings, rising and falling perceptions, rising and falling volitional formations or thoughts, and rising and falling consciousness. They rise and fall so fast, we hardly can isolate one of them and focus the mind on it because they all are bound together. They are inseparably connected. When we notice one, others also are there, but we cannot isolate any of them. They all happen all the time. When we see this very natural order of rising and falling of the aggregates, 5 aggregates, there is no place, room, a moment that something stay static, fixed. They all run, moving and moving, changing, rising, falling, rising, falling. When we see this natural pattern, this default function, no desire will arise to hold on to anything because it is a futile effort. And then the desire for holding on to anything will cease temporarily. And then even the body, feeling, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness keep changing. When the mind sees this nature, everything relaxes. Body relaxes, the breath relaxes, the mind relaxes. When everything relaxes, there is no rigidity, uptightness. At that moment, we feel metta more closely in us. Metta does not operate when the rigidity or uptightness or resentment is present. And then second thing disappearing would be resentment or anger. And then we also feel compassionate towards all suffering beings. That time our restlessness and worry fades away when we see this reality. And then we get more energetic to continue our practice, because every moment we find something new feeling, new perception, new thought, new consciousness arise every moment. And then our mind becomes even energetic to see further in this happening. Then sleepiness and drowsiness fades away. And then seeing all this in our own experience, not borrowing from somebody, not reading in books, but in our own personal experience, we rising and falling, body feeling, breath relaxing, greed fading away, generous feeling rising, metta arising and hatred, anger fading away, and restlessness and worry fade away, compassion is taking root, and then energy arises, sleepiness and drowsiness fades away. All these we experience in our practice. Then confidence arises in us in our practice, confidence in the method, confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and this very nature of dependently arising and passing away. Dependent origination you see in action. When you meditate, when one arises, another arises. This being, this is the formula of dependent origination. Seeing this, confidence arises and doubt fades away. Then we are full of joy because every moment we something positive, progressive. When something positive, progressive, mind becoming calm, relaxed, peaceful, joy arises. And then joy increases slowly, gradually. And then happiness arises. Happiness also increases. None of them is excitement or making the mind agitated, excited, or disturbed. Mind becomes so calm, relaxed, and peaceful. Tranquility arises. Pasadhi. And when the pasadhakayo sukhin chittang samadhyati, or sukhino chittang samadhyati, when happiness which leads to tranquility leads to concentration, which is very calm, peaceful, undisturbed state of mind. In that state, we are not like a vegetable. We are still functioning. Mind still is functioning more clearly. Then the mind can notice rising and falling of the subtlest way. We may say in nano level, so to say, minutest level, cellular level, rising and falling. Then, of course, the notion of self will vanish, and that gives more relief and peace. With this, I want to stop and let us continue and see how this happens. Dukkha patta ca nidukkha, bhaya patta ca nibbhaya, soka patta ca nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. This is our everyday wish. With this wish in mind, let us focus the mind on the section on elements, dhatu. Yesterday I completed parts of the body meditation, and today all these parts are divided into 4 elements: earth, water, air, fire. In 32 parts of the body talk, we mentioned 20 parts belong to earth element, 12 parts belongs to water elements. Now in that section we did not find air element and fire element. Now we want to include all these 4 elements in this particular meditation. Remember, this is not mere analytical, intellectual exercise. We are not trying to write a scholarly paper on this, but we are trying to be more practical, use them in our meditation. How we use them? It's very simply mentioned in the discourse. This Buddha said, again, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu reviews this very body, however it is placed, however disposed, as consisting of elements. However, whether we are lying, sitting, standing, walking, and bending, stretching, in all these major postures and minor postures, 4 elements are functioning, working. And that, in the first place, we must keep that in mind. What moves are the 4 elements. What sit down are the 4 elements. What bends, 4 elements, and so forth. And then the Buddha said, in this body there are the earth element, water elements, fire elements, and air elements. Very simple. We just remind ourselves this body has earth element, water elements, fire elements, and air elements. Very simple. And yet, when we try to use them as our part of our meditation, then we have to see them deeply, more clearly. So Buddha gives a very simple simile. The simile is just as though a skilled Butcher or his apprentice had killed a cow and was seated at the crossroad with it cut up in pieces. So he sits in the four crossroad where there are four directions: east, west, north, south. And this he sits in this crossroad. The four roads are four postures: sitting, standing, walking, lying down. These are the four roads. Crossroad. Uh, and he keep this the cow killed cows cut up into pieces, and with this he sits down. Now, now let us see the meaning of this simile. When he feeds grace the cow, he has the cow concept. When he clean the cow concept. If he bathes the cow, yes, I am bathing a cow. When he leads him home, he says, I leave my cow home. And he leash him, if he does, he says, I leash the cow. And all the time he thinks in terms of cow, living, moving cow. And now he killed the cow. When he was killing the cow, he knows that he is killing a cow. And then cutting into pieces, he now still he may have the concept of cow in his mind. He has not forgotten. However, after cutting up the cows into pieces, sitting at crossroad, he does not sell cow. He does not say this cow, this pound of cow is this much. This kilo of the cow is this much. Now he changed the name. We all know the name. That is called beef. Now he is selling beef, not the cow. Now cow concept disappeared. Beef concept is in his mind. Remember this simile. Don't get emotional. Don't ask question how come Buddha took this simile of killing cows, cutting up and so forth. Remember this is just a simile. When he gives a simile, he takes a simile from what is happening in the society. So people can easily relate to it. At that time, in the Buddha's time, people killed cows. They ate beef. Of course, later on, after Buddha began to teach non-violence, avihimsa, sankappa, avihimsa thought, gradually Indians stopped killing cows. So it happened after the Buddha's teaching, and Jaina Mahavira also was against killing cows. And there was a huge movement against killing cows. And therefore society decided not to kill cows. And today, in Hindu society, Hindu people do not kill cows and do not eat beef. So Buddha took this simile from what was happening in the society. Now, when this man, butcher or his skilled apprentice, selling beef, the know or the concept of cow is gone and replaced it with the concept of beef. Now, similarly, when we use these elements, earth, water, air, fire, we don't use Banteji's earth element, Tom's water elements, Mary's air elements, Jean's the heat elements. We don't make any distinction between people when we talk about elements. Elements are universal, common thing. And it doesn't have Banteji, Mary, John, or dog, or cats, and so on. They are not, these concepts are not there. But only the earth concept, water concept, heat concept, air concept are in the mind. Now, what is the earth concept? Hardness. When when we experience hardness, we experience the quality of earth element. When we experience heat, we experience the quality of heat element. When we experience water, running nose, sweats, and so on, we experience the quality of water element. When we breathe in and out, we experience the quality of air elements. Now, we reduce ourselves to these elements, and elements also we reduce to the qualities of elements. Now, earth element, whether it is inside or outside, is just earth element. It does not have a owner. Banteji's earth element, Tom's earth element, Mary's earth element, and so forth. Nobody owns these elements. Nobody owns. But they are just elements. Water, earth element, you may say the world, the earth, very huge. Does it belong to anybody? Although we have papers and deeds and wills and so forth, in those we say so many acres belong to so and so, and the name and so forth. We put all these conventional, acceptable, socially acceptable conventional terms and claim the ownership of the earth. Claim the ownership of earth. But there is no owner of the earth. It has one owner. That is the earth. It belongs to the hardness. It doesn't belong to this animal, this person, and so forth. Hardness is hardness, whether it is in America or Russia, Japan or India, Australia or even Sri Lanka. Hardness is hardness. This universally common characteristic is there. And that is what we focus our mind on. Hardness. Hardness of earth element. This earth, as it is so big, Venerable Sariputta said in Mahahatti Padopama Sutta that you find in Majjhima Nikaya, he said this earth, when the heat increased by appearing more suns, there is a discourse called Satta Suryo Gamana Sutta in Anguttara Nikaya. That means the heat will increase when more than one sun appears in this galaxy. More than one sun appears here. Then this so big earth on which we all 8 billion people and trillions of living beings and trillions of plants and so forth exist, this earth will evaporate because of the heat. It is moisture vanishes. It turns into dust, and the dust also vanish from earth. Then there would be nothing. So when the Sariputta says, if it is so with regard to such a huge earth, how about us? We are so insignificant dust. Insignificant. We come to that state. And therefore, hardness is not something permanent. Hardness is not permanent. For instance, when you touch something, table, chair, anything, or your body with your hands and so forth, you touch, hardness you experience at the moment you touch it. When you take your hands out, do you experience hardness? No. Hardness experience exists at that very moment that you touch, that you come in contact. When we come in contact with something hardness, we experience hardness. Hardness is experienced. Similarly, Mahahatipadopama Sutta, Venerable Sariputta says, water elements has a characteristic of holding things together and flowing. This ocean, I think 80% of this world is earth, is ocean, water. I think 80%. I'm not sure. We have to find out from more knowledgeable people. But ocean has so much water, and there is no difference between the water in the ocean and water in us. This water is the same. What the water in the ocean does, Thus, our water in the body. Characteristics are the same. And this water element or water in the ocean also will come to an end one day, not in our lifetime, so you don't worry, not in 100 generations, but it will one day. When it comes to an end, how about this little water that we have in our body? I think 90% of our body has a water. I don't know exact what you call statistic, the proportion, uh, what you call ratio. I don't know, but large amount of water we have in our body in various forms, and they all have one characteristic, that is holding things together. Even that happens only when they hold. Holding is not something permanent, it changes. Then heat elements heats up. It digests our food. Heat elements in outside coming from the sun is the same as heat element in us. And this the sun that gives us heat may have been existing for the last 5 billion years or so. 5 billion is a limit. And then this sun keeps burning its helium every moment, millions and millions of points of helium. I don't know how to calculate. And finally, this sun that gives us so much heat, after maybe another 5 billion or 6 billion years, becomes a dark planet without any energy to produce heat. So the heat in our body is so tiny, and it also we lose every day. We lose our heat. That means the heat that we have in our body is not permanent. I'm not talking about the physics, they talk about energy. That is another area. But I'm talking about the impermanence. We are practicing meditation. In meditation, we have to learn not the physics or chemistry, but we have to learn the nature of what happens to us, to these elements in our life. Then, air element. Air element is moving, changing, appearing, disappearing, which is more conspicuous, clearer than any other element in terms of impermanence, changing. So that also is changing, keeps changing all the time. Now, when all of them together with consciousness we call Banteji, Tom, Jim, Mary, Jane, so forth and so on. Dog, cats, elephants, and so on. When all of them are together. When they disintegrate and turns into what you call rising and falling state, appearing and disappearing, then we all are one in terms of elements. Now, Banteji concept disappears, Tom concept disappears, Jim concept disappears, Mary concept disappears. What appears is just the element. Even these elements are not something permanent. So whether we are moving, sitting, standing, walking, lying down, we are all together in elements are put together, and therefore we give names, conventional names, human, animal, and so on. So Buddha said, similarly, when we say in this body, there are these four elements: earth, water, air, fire, which are not individuals. Nisatto nijjivo sunyo. These elements are not living beings. Earth element is not living. Water element is not living. Air element is not living. Heat element is not living. Nijjivo, sunyo. Earth element does not have soul or self or something. Sunya means empty. Empty of what? Empty of permanent anything called self. Earth element is empty of self. Water element is empty of self. Heat element is empty of self. Air element is empty of self. What do we see? In these elements, we don't see permanent self, permanent anything. When these all come together due to the law of dependent origination, we find a being. When they disintegrate, when they change all the time, then we don't see a being. So, nisatto nijjivo sunyo. Sunyo. Sunya means empty of greed. Earth element doesn't have greed. Earth element doesn't have hatred. Earth element doesn't have confusion. Earth element doesn't have I, and so forth. None of these elements have any of these emotional factors that we use in our daily life. They are just elements. Similarly, in this body of ours, there is not any particular permanent entity. All are, as we mention every day, all are moving parts in this incredible machine. This life is an incredible machine with consciousness. And they are constantly changing, moving particles. And they also, not one single particle is more permanent than others, or permanent at all. All particles are equally changing, appearing, and disappearing. So, this is how we have to use the elements as part of our meditation. Now, where is the cow? There's no cow. Where is the beef? There's no beef. Nothing permanent. They all conventionally we give names and use them while we are alive, and then we understand that they don't have anything, what you call, persisting, continuing, anything in them. So with these friends, I think my time is up. I'm glad that you came for this class, and I'm very happy to share metta with so many suffering beings, and we want to wish all of them free be free from suffering and come to regular healthy life and live long to practice Dhamma and liberate themselves from samsara. There are beings, people in hospitals taken care of by various very compassionate doctors, nurses, hospital staffs, and may they be free from their suffering and return to normal health. And those doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs who take care of them also be free from any disease, any sickness, and free from suffering and attain liberation from samsara. And there are just very generous people who are supporting all these institutes, people, organizations, and some financing some organizations that do research for vaccines. May they continue their generosity so that they will find solution for this problem. And there are leaders who have done some good jobs, and may they continue their generous, understanding, insightful work. Other leaders who have not yet come up with lasting solution, and may they have wisdom, understanding, determination, and patience to make wise decision for the benefit of all this. So I must say once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhante.